Hello and welcome back to the blues. This video is going to introduce you to the blues in the key of D with W.C. Handy's song St. Louis Blues. My personal favorite rendition of it is sung by Billie Holiday, so you may hear a little bit of that rendition here in the way that I've charted this out for you. What we're going to do is, first of all, take a look at just the chords that we need, and then we'll take a look at the shuffle and the chord progression, kind of break down the different sections, and then we'll play through the whole song. So if you already know how to play the song, you can skip ahead or stick around here with me now, and we'll kind of take it piece by piece. First of all, let's zoom in and take a look at the chords that you need for this song. The St. Louis Blues is in the key of D. So my home key is the D chord here. I've got my index, middle, and ring finger all on the second fret of the G, C, and E strings there. You gotta kind of shove them in there. It's a little bit tough for us adults with our fat fingers here, but do your best. Sometimes people also find a way of barring it either with the middle or the pointer. I'm not so great at that because you gotta keep this A string open, but if you want to experiment with that, you're welcome to. The next chord we have is a G chord. I play it like this. I've got my pointer finger here on the second fret of the C string. I reach my middle back to the second fret on the A, and then I bring my ring kind of in between them onto the third fret of the E string here. Sometimes people also will swap out the pointer and the index. They'll play it like that. Depends on what feels comfortable. I like it this way because when I go from D to G, you'll see that my ring finger stays right there on the E string, and it just kind of slides. It's normally on the second fret for that D chord. I slide it up to the third fret, and then I move the other fingers around. That feels most comfortable for me, but you can experiment with some other options. The next one we're going to want to look at is go back to your D chord, and you have two options for the D7 that comes up in this song. The first one is you simply lift this third finger here in the middle finger off of the C string, so the C is open. It has kind of a jazzy sound to it if you take a strum, a little bit different from the regular chord. Or you can also take your pinky here and add it, keep your D chord just the way that it was before, all three fingers down, add the pinky to the third fret of the A string. You're kind of bringing in the C there, up there on the high end, and you can see your pinky is going to get a workout here. Mine sort of shifts off to the side a little bit, whatever it takes. You can also experiment with that a little bit as well. So you've got D, G, and D7. You've also got A7 in this particular song. Pretty easy with the your first finger, that index finger, on the first fret of the C string there. Also nice and jazzy. And then in the middle of the song, out of nowhere seems to come this D minor chord. That's different from the regular D, the D7. This is just another variation on D. I'm going to make an F chord to start as a reference point. Then I add my ring finger to the second fret of the C string just behind the middle there. It has that nice melancholy minor sound. So a little more chords in this song than we're used to in the past, but that's all you're going to need for this one. All right, you've got your chords. Now let's take a look at the chord progression for this song. We have the 12-bar blues just like we did before, but we're jazzing it up once again a little bit more differently than we have before. So we start off on the first line. We're going to play 4 beats of D. Let's give it a try. Ready, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we go to 4 beats of G up to the G chord. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to D. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we go to D7. It's kind of raising the tension as we move on to the next line here. And you can do that in 2 ways, right? You can play that D7 open with that lower C there, or you can add the high C by adding on the pinky up here. Either way is fine, whatever you feel. So let's go and do that whole line again. That first line, we start on D, ready, and a 1, 2, 3 to G, and 1, 2, 3, back to D, and 1, 2, 3, D7, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that 7 has kind of raised the tension for the next line. We're going to go over to G, and this is going to look a lot more like the 12-bar blues we're used to. 2 bars of G here. Ready, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, back Another D7 here, 1, 2, 3. Now the final line is our very typical pattern. We're going to the A7 now, ready, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 4 beats of G, a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back to the D, our home chord here. A 1, 2, 3, 4, and for this last bar, we're gonna split it into 2 and 2, 2 Ds, and then hold the A7 for 2 beats. All right? So all together, that last line is gonna sound like this. Starting on A7, ready, and a 1, 2, 3 to G, and 1, 2, back to D, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 1, 2 to A7 and hold. All right? Awesome. So a little bit different than what we've done before. Let's go back and try the whole verse here. Starting on D. Here we go. Ready, and a 1, 2, 3 to G, and 1, 2, back to D, and a 1, 2, 3, D7, however you want to do it. Then to G, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, back to D, and 1, 2, 3, D7, a 1, 2, last line, A7, 1, 2, 3 to G, and 1, 2, back to D, a 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1 to A7, hold. Nice, you made it all the way through. Just a quick note for those of you who are learning the key of D for the very first time and are freaking out right now at how fast it's going, remember that you can always just play one strum per 4 beats, right? You don't have to strum all 4 of those beats. If you're still working on just getting from D over to G, which is not an easy transition, right? What you can do for that first line, for example, is just play a 1, 2, 3 over to D, G, and 1, 2, back to D, a 1, 2, 3, D7, and 1, 2, 3, 4. You can always kind of scale that back a little bit to help you practice the chords but also keep up with the song. Take a look now at the shuffle. What happens when we add the shuffle? And we learned the shuffle for the key of C. Let's try it in the key of D. What I'm going to do is zoom in again so you can see how I'm going to do the shuffle with the D chord and the G chord. Then we'll zoom back out and apply it to the song. For the blues shuffle in the key of D, I start here on my D chord, shove all my fingers in there, and what I'm going to do is just when you thought you had enough fingers stuffed there into the 2nd fret, we're going to add one more. Take your pinky and put it down on the 2nd fret of the A string. That's your, what we call a D-B chord. We're adding that B note there. And for the shuffle, we're going to go back and forth between the two. We start on D, then we add the pinky and take it off, put it on. And remember, we add that kind of lilting strum, so it'll sound like... back and forth like that. And you really want to emphasize that string with the changing note as best you can. Now when you switch over to the G chord, you have 2 options here. You can switch to a G7 if you want, just because it has that kind of jazzy sound to it. But if you want to shuffle along with the D, you're going to have your regular G chord with your pointer finger over here, the 2nd fret of the C string. You've got your middle over here, the 2nd fret of the A string. You've got the ring finger right in between them. And this is a sort of unusual in that you start with all of the strings on, all the fingers on the strings rather, and then to shuffle you take the ring finger off. And then you put it back on and take it off. So all together it's going to sound like this. All the fingers on for starts. Ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you're wanting to emphasize, if you can, is you want to emphasize this note, that it's a D note on that C string there, and then hit the open string. If you can. Don't worry about it if you just want to strum it all the way through. That'll come through. But if you want to emphasize, you can hit that C string, then the E string a little bit harder. And that is your blues shuffle in the key of D. Okay, are we ready to shuffle here in the key of D? Find your D chord. Remember that first line is a bit of a, there's just a lot going on there. So let's take it chord by chord. First of all, we've got 4 beats of D. In the shuffle, that's gonna sound like this. Ready, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we switch right over to G. A 1, 2, 3, 4, and back to D. A 1, 2, 3, 4, and add the D7, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now, let's try that all again and kind of see if we can't keep a steady tempo throughout. Try it one more time with me. Ready, and 1, 2, 3 to G, and 1, 2, 3 back to D. A 1, 2, 3, D7. A 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your first line. Then we go over to G for 2 bars. Ready, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, back to D. A 1, 2, 3, 4. D7, 2, 3. That last line we go to A7. Now we're just doing straight strums here. Ready, and a 1, 2, 3 to G. Straight strums again. 2, 3, 4. Now back to D and back to the shuffle. 1, 2, A7, and hold. And there we are at the end of the verse. Let's put it all together here one time through just the chords. Then we'll add the lyrics in and start adding a little bit more to the song here. Here we go. Starting on D. 1, 2, ready, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. G. Back to D. A 1, 2, 3. D7. 2, 3 to G. 2, 2, 3 to D, and 1, 2, 3. D7. A 1, 2. Last line now. A7. A 1, 2, 3 to G. And back to D, the shuffle. 2, 3, 4. 1 to A7. Hold. Nicely done. All right, let's add the words this time around. Ready, and I hate to see to G that evening sun. D, go down. D7, then to G. I hate to see that evening sun. D, go down. D7, A7, 'cause my baby G is gone, left this town. D, back to the shuffle, and 1 to A7 and hold. Second verse, we're gonna keep going. If I'm feeling tomorrow, G, like I feel D today. D7 to G. If I'm feeling tomorrow, like I feel D today. D7. Now A7. I'll pack my trunk and make my D getaway. And 1 to A7, hold. And now we're into brand new territory. So let's pause right here. Now we are coming out of the world of the 12-bar blues, and what they've done is added in what we call a B section. The 12-bar blues would be our A sections, kind of our main verses, and now they've thrown in something completely different. What we're going to do for this is go over to D minor. Remember that from our chords at the beginning of the video. And it's pretty simple, musically speaking. We're just going to go back and forth 8 beats on D minor, and then 8 beats on A7, and then swap it out. 8 beats on A7, 8 beats back on D minor. It's going to sound like this. Starting on D minor, 1, 2, ready, and a 1. St. Louis woman to A7 with her diamond ring. 1, 2, 3, stay there now. Pulls that man around. Back to D minor, by her apron string. 5, 6, 7, 8, stay there. If I wasn't D, and we go back to the 12-bar blues section where we go, got the St. Louis blues, then to G, right? We're right back to the 12-bar blues pattern at the end. There's just that kind of weird B section in the end. So I think it's pretty straightforward. You just want to watch out for it after the second verse when you get to the end. I'll pack my truck, make my getaway, just know that you're moving into the B section. All right, so if you need to go over any other part of the song, feel free to rewind, go back to that part of the video. But now what we're going to do is just play through it as best we can. We'll give it our best shot. All right, we're going to play St. Louis Blues here. We've gone over all the pieces. The only thing you need to know is what's going to happen at the end, right? As in most songs, what we're going to do at the close is that for that last verse, the last line of the 12-bar blues, we've got our A7 to G, and then we're coming back to D for 4, and then instead of our usual turnaround, we're going to go straight to A7, 1, 2, and come back and end on D7, and give it a little tremolo at the end just to kind of tie it off nicely at the end. Watch out, I'll help you through it at the end, but just know that that ending is a little bit different than the rest of the verses are. All right, here we go from the top. Starting on your D, get your shuffle ready, or if you're still just learning the key of D chords, you're just getting ready to practice those chords with us here. Here we go. A 1, 2, vamp on D. Here we go. 2, 3. Just hang out here with me for a second. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Here we go now. I hate to see to G that evening sun. Back to D. Go down D7. Oh, I hate to see. Now we're on G. That evening sun, back to D, go down D7 to A7, 'cause my baby G, he's gone and left D this town. Now 2 and 2, 1 to A7, hold. If I'm feeling tomorrow to G, like I feel back to D today. Keep that 12-bar blues going, D7 to G. If I'm feeling tomorrow like I feel today. 2, 3, D7, 1, 2, 3, A7. I'll pack my truck and make my getaway. Here comes that B section. 1 to A7, hold. D minor, St. Louis woman, A7 with her diamond ring. Hold on to it. Pulls that man around. Back to D minor like her apron string. 1, 2, stay there. If it wasn't for powder, A7 and her store-bought hair. Hang on to it. That man I love wouldn't have gone D minor. Nowhere, A7, nowhere. Back to D. I got the St. Louis blues to G. Blue as I, D can be. D7, G. That man's got a heart like a rock cast in D to C. D7, now A7, or else he would G have gone so far from me. D, 2, 3. Now straight to A7 twice, 2, and end on D7. Nice little tremolo at the end. All right, you made it through. Awesome. In the next video, we're going to talk about some little tricks to add for the key of D if you're ready for it. Otherwise, feel free to go back and use whatever part of this video you need at any time. Enjoy your practice and let me know how it goes.